Kumlen and Ablak Gemara. Today's daf is daf mem. This is the blot for Shabbos, first day of Pesach. We're up to the Mishnah of Mem Amud Aleph, in the middle of the page. It says the Mishnah, Achelis liyevemta. If Shimon gives chalitza to Reuven's wife to Leah, hareyu ke'ech min achnach he's equal to all of his brothers. When it comes to dividing the estate of Reuven, because he gave chalitza and didn't marry her, so therefore he doesn't inherit the estate, but he's equal to all the brothers. Yim yesh sham but the father is still alive, then the chassid shalav, the father precedes all of the brothers. Case number two, hakoinis says if he marries Reuven's wife, and l'chayda when the pasuk says lahakim shem la'achiv, he takes over his brother's name, it means also for the assets. Zacha ben chassid shalachiv, he yashal all the assets. Rabbi says benkach or benkach. I don't care whether it's chalitza, whether it's yibum. Im yesh sham av nechasim shalav. The father takes precedence over everyone else, and he takes the entire estate of Reuven. And the pasuk says lahakim shein la'achiv, and we know it doesn't mean physically or literally calling the child the name of your deceased brother. So what does it mean? And you tell me now it doesn't mean the nachla either, that he inherits Reuven's estate. What it means is, how do we know which set of brothers are the ones who are obligated? In Yibum, it's those that, in theory, can should know as paternal brothers. Says, first of all, Pshita, you're telling me that the Chalitz gets a share in the estates of Reuven. Why shouldn't he? No, I'll tell you what. I thought Chalitz Magiyah came out. I thought the Chalitz is the same as Yibum, as we learned yesterday. That we would have, that in the Havmei Mother was exactly the same or is different. Venishka kula nechasis, so maybe since it's like you should take the entire nechasim. Kamashla that no, that chalitza is not exactly like yibum, and therefore it doesn't. He doesn't get the entire estate. So it seems like the Mishnah is trying to tell you, you would have thought he gets the entire estate. No, he gets equal to his brothers. So I think, that's the Mishnah trying to tell you, then the wording is incorrect. You're telling me he is like one of the brothers. No. You're trying to reduce what he gets. So you should have said he's merely like one of his brothers. I would have thought I would have thought because he had a mitzvah of yibum and he refused to take it, maybe we should penalize him. And he forfeits his rights to Reuven's assets. We don't do that. The father's alive during chalitza, then the father gets all the estate. No matter. The father gets the poor, the rest of the descendants. But if you marry him, then he gets the entire estate. My time, if he took the student in Reuven's place, he gets the entire estate. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it goes to the father. Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda, that it goes to the father, even by even if she marries Reuven, the entire estate goes to his father. My time is what's his father. See, the pasuk, the b'chayr that will give birth, and we're talking about that he should take over from his brother. That's how we know we learned yesterday that the oldest one, the mitzvah is the oldest one. So therefore we say, I say b'chayr. Kip Choyd has the same status of Choyd. Map Choyd ain't like the Chayav. The Choyd will not yashir while his father's alive. He also doesn't yashir while his father's alive. In other words, the father takes precedence. Says the Gemara, if we're going to compare it to Choyd, let's go a step further. Just like a Choyd takes double portion, of that the Choyd takes a double portion after the father died. So let's say Shimon marries Reuven. And the father was alive. So his father Yashin, and then his father dies. Shimon should get a double portion. That was his portion from his father's estate. So to over here, he should take a double portion from his father. So that's what we wrote because of Chayy. Says he want to midday Yakum Hashem Aviv Ksiv Yakum Achiv. Why should he get double portion of his father? He only gets double if he gets directly from Reuven. But if Reuven dies and his father outlives Reuven, according to the entire estate goes to his father, then Shimon, when it comes to Yashin later on from his father, when he passed away, he doesn't get any more than what Shimon deserves to get. He doesn't get any more from Reuven because Reuven's estate now became the father's estate. So let's dash in the following. Let's dash in the father is not existent, the lishkal nachla, therefore you're able to take the inheritance, this guy mitzvah yibum, then you have mitzvah yibum as well. But if the father's alive, so you don't get any share in the estate, maybe this guy mitzvah yibum, maybe you don't have mitzvah yibum either. Says the Gemara, meet the yibum and nachla tol rachmana. Who said the two are interdependent? There's a mitzvah called yibum. Then separately we look at the estate. You take it. We don't take it. Yosef Hanina Kame Kra. Kame Rabiana, Hanina Kra sat before Rabiana, but Yosef he sat there, he said, Allah Rabiuda. He said, Rabiana, Allah Rabiuda. Amalei told him, Puk Kari Kari Lebro, go ahead and tell these Mishnayos outside. Ain't Allah Rabiuda, because Allah definitely is not like Rabbi Yehuda, because Yochid Rab and Allah is always like Rab. Tani Tangam Rab Nachman came along, one of the students learned before Rab Nachman, and from Rab Raisa, Ain't Allah Rabiuda, Allah Rabiuda. Amalei, he said that to Ella Kaman. Kirabonon. So Rab Nachman said to him, and if Allah Rabiuda, what tell me? Like Rabbanon Pshita. Yochid Rab, Allah Rab, of course like the Rabbanon. What are you trying to tell me? If Allah is not like Rabbi Yehuda, Abba is like the Rabbanon. And that isn't that the rule because the Rabbim and the Yochid follow the Rabbim? Amalei, so the student said, you're right, Isami, let me erase it. Amalei, learn now. At halacha isnich, but really happen you don't remember. You really learned in the Brais that halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Or mukshud actually, and you were bothered by it. How can Rabbi Yehuda when he's only a minority opinion? But after you swap the Brais around, and you decide to learn ein halacha Rabbi Yehuda. You just remember that you said that. Well, so now that you have a Brais and you turn it around, and the real what the Brais is that the halacha is not like Yehuda but like a Chamim. The real Brais is that Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda, but you swapped it around. You did the right thing. Mishnah. Now we know that if you divorce someone, then you're not allowed to marry the sister when you divorced, the mother when you divorced, and so on. You're not allowed to marry any of the relatives that if you were married to this woman, you're not allowed to live with. Even after you divorced her, you're not allowed to live with any of these relatives. The only exception is a sister. That if your wife passed away, for example, then you're allowed to marry the sister. That's it. And chalitza, the Rabbanan decided that a chalitza has the same status as a divorce. So it says here, if somebody gives chalitza to his sister-in-law, Reuven, she gives it to Reuven's wife, who also he is forbidden in all of her relatives, just like Reuven would have been married to her. He would be forbidden to all of her. Just like if he would have been married, sort of chalitza, he would have been forbidden to all of her relatives. So now you're giving a get. Chalitza is like a get. Therefore, that Issa continues, and you're not allowed with any relatives. He asur l'krevan. So too, she is forbidden with all of his relatives. Who asur? He is forbidden. The ima, her. We're talking now. We're going to list all of these different arayas that we had in the beginning of the Sechta, which are from the Torah. He's not allowed to marry the mother of the chalutza, or be'emim, or the grandmother of the chalutza, or be'em of the grandmother on the father's side, or be'bitin her daughter, or be'bas bitin her granddaughter, or be'bas banon her granddaughter through her son. But when it comes to the sister as well as forbidden, bisman she kayemas, as long as she is alive. The moment that she dies, then if they had been married, she would be allowed to marry the sister. So even though he gave chalitza, he's allowed to marry the sister. And but all of his brothers are permitted with all of these relatives. Just the one who gave the chalitza is forbidden to all the relatives of this chalitza, but the brothers, they have no issue at all. They can live with her. He asura, she is forbidden. She's forbidden, but aviv. So too, she's forbidden with his father, uva avi of his zayde, ubibnoi, ubibemnoi, his son and grandson, but achiv, his brother, uva ben achiv. And forbidden with the brother, the son of the brother. All of them are forbidden because if she would have been married, these were forbidden. So now that you gave a get, they will be forbidden. And give chalutza is forbidden mid the rabban. Mutir adam, a person is permitted to marry krevas tzaras chalutzasek. So there's a chalutza. Reuven was so Shimon gave a chalitza to Reuven's wife. There was a co-wife, the tzara, which now she is free. If this co-wife marries another person altogether, and the other wife or the relative of that Sarah is permitted. So, for example, if Reuben was married to Leah and to Sarah, we're not sisters or anything else, and you gave chalitza to Sarah, so now Leah is a free woman, and you're not allowed to live with with a Sarah either. But Leah's sister is permitted to you. But what is forbidden is the tzaras kreves chalutzasei. What is forbidden is, let's say Reuven gave chalitza. Let's say Shimon gave chalitza to Reuven's wife, to Leah, and her sister Rachel was married to another guy altogether. And but that sister's forbidden because she is this other guy. This sister is the sister of your chalutz, of a chalutz. And that sister had a co-wife to a stranger. If that person dies or that co-wife gets divorced, you're not allowed to marry that co-wife. The co-wife of the tzara, the tzara of the relative of chalutza is forbidden to you. And Rash and Tesis finds it very, very difficult to understand. A total stranger here, you have no relation with the tzara of a relative of chalutza that should be forbidden to you. We'll see more later. Says we have a question. When it comes to chalutza with the Rabbani, you have to keep separate. You also now live with the relatives. We mentioned the Mishnah all these terms from the Torah as it seems at the moment. What about Isurim only Rabbanan? So we ask the ever that I said goes with Rabbanan Shniyas, the chalutza Rabbanan Shniyas. Do we say when it comes to an ever in the Torah, that's when the Rabbanan they made an Islovis? If you were married to this woman, then you're not allowed to live with not only all those erois but even erois that are also with the Rabbanan. However, when it comes to chalutza, which is only with the Rabbanan, we're not going to go so far to take that Isra Rabbanan and extend it to also those people that are forbidden to you with the Rabbanan. For example, her grandmother's mother. It's only from the mother's side or the father's side. That so if this would have been your wife, then they would be also to you with the Rabbanan. They're called shniyas, the second tier. The question is, what about in the case of a chalutza? I didn't make no difference. Tashma coming here. It says in the Mishnah, "Who asa be'ima over aimima?" He's forbidden with her mother and a grandmother, which are all had she been his wife would have been asa matayda. Ilu ain aimima, the grandmother's mother, like Tana is mentioned. So it's clear to me that we don't go so far as to include shniyas, which are only midrabbanah. They should be forbidden by a chalutza. You know why it doesn't mention them? You should go away. Let me say it. What's the next part? But that your brother, let's say Shimon, the one that gave chalitza, all the other brothers are allowed to live with the relatives of this chalutza. So only Shimon can't, but all the brothers can. You want to learn that part. If you would have told us, aim, ima, if you would have told us about great grandma's mother, which are only us that bone, I would have thought, who the brothers allowed to marry? Only that far. Only the aim, ima. But Anisa the Raisa, even the brother be forbidden. How do you know only somebody's awesome with Rabbanon like the grandmother's mother? How about the aim ima, but just the grandmother? Or the ima, the mother, like there, even the rest of the brothers cannot live with the mother of the chalutz. That's how I would have thought. That's why the Mishnah doesn't mention it. So, that's a shvacha teretz. But at least let it say in the Mishnah, aim, ima is also included. And the least, but spell out. Big kulan. Just say the brothers allowed to marry big kulan, all of them, whether also Matei and Rabbanon doesn't go to the brothers. So it says the Gemara further, Sakash. So it seems from here clearly that the fact that the Mishnah does not mention aim, ima, sounds like shniyas are actually permitted. The Gemara will continue. And we're not yet convinced one way or another, but it is a difficulty. Second about Tashma coming here, it says he regarding her, she's asura, she's forbidden of his father, or his Zaydik, telling me the others. Now, what is her relationship to his grandfather? To his grandfather, she is his son's daughter-in-law, which is only midrabanan. Had she really been married to Shimon, she would be usher. Let's say they got divorced, whatever. She'd be usher to the grandfather as the son's daughter, only midrabanan. And yet it says here by chalutza that the grandfather can't marry her. It doesn't seem clear there that shniyas midrabanan are included in the issa. My lam mishum chayvetz. We're talking about here that Shimon's grandfather, and what is Shimon to the grandfather? A son, and what is she to the Shimon grandfather? A son's daughter-in-law. So it's clear that Shnia is the Havilak Kalibunai, and it's a Shnia, and yet it says Asa. Mishum Misna. The reason why it's Asa to Shimon's grandfather is because Shimon's grandfather is also Reuben's grandfather, and she actually was married to Reuben. So as far as the Shimon's grandfather, let's say to what do you call it? To Yitzchak, Shimon's relationship to Yitzchak would have been that this woman relationship to Yitzchak would have been that she is actually the son's daughter-in-law. She is Yaakov's daughter-in-law because she was married to Reuben. So it's not with chalutz, it's to do with direct marriage, and that there definitely shniyas are forbidden. L'kalos b'nai, son's daughter-in-law. Tashma coming here says further. She's forbidden to father grandfather, forbidden also with a son and a grandson. Now, why is she forbidden with a grandson? My lab, Mishum Cheletz. Why is she given grandson? So no, she's the grandfather's. She is this grandson. She is the grandfather Shimon's Chalutza, and it's only and what do you call it? And we see from here, and only a Shnia. She is considered the wife of the grandfather, which is only a Shnia, and yet we're saying that as far as Shimon is concerned, Shimon's grandchildren. She's the wife of the Chalutza of Shimon, which would, if you would have been a wife, would have been only a Shnia, and yet we see that even by Chalutza it's forbidden. Because of that person. No, it's because she actually was married to Reuben. And what's Reuben to Shimon's grandson? A great uncle's real wife. And Tak, it's a Shnia, but Shnias are forbidden to marriage. It's the wife of the great uncle. Says the Gemara, but Hamema holds that the wife of a great uncle is actually Mutter. So why can't she marry her Shimon's grandson? If we're talking about that's a problem. If you tell me that there's no Shnias by Chalutza, nor is there by marriage either in this particular case, a great uncle's wife. So the answer, Amema Mukala, Amema learns it totally different. How does Amema learn it? Amema Mukala, the bar bro de Sava. We're talking about the grandfather. We're talking about Shimon, and we're talking about the grandfather, and it goes like this. We're talking about the father of the mace, right? The father of the mace, and let's say Reuben, the father of Reuben, and the father of Shimon. And when we say grandson, we don't mean Shimon's grandson. We mean Shimon's father's grandson, which really is Shimon's son. It's really Shimon's son, and therefore it's an uncle, an aunt, and that's why it's forbidden. Says the Gemara. So that's not anymore a grandson. It's a son. It's an uncle, an aunt, not a great aunt. So Gemara says you're right. So why does it say twice? One is talking about the son from the father's side, and then the next one is son even from the mother's side. First, we still have no proof. So Rabbi said, regarding a married woman, there are 4 arayos which are malat Torah, there are 4 midrabanan. He says, a father and a son, achiv and a brother, uben achiv and a nephew, they're all forbidden from the Torah. And then Avi Aviv, the grandfather, Vaima, the grandfather of the mother's side, Ben Bena, the grandson, and Ben Bitai are all midivrei seifim, all midrabanan. They're all midrabanan. Telling me we don't see clear from there. Avi Avi, the grandfather. My love, what's the grandfather? Mishum Chaylitz. It's forbidden as Chaylitz. And so what's her relationship to Shimon's grandfather? She is the son's daughter-in-law. Which you learned before is merely a Shniyim Rabbanan. Yet say Chalutza is also. Again, same as before. No. The problem is that she's also Reuben's wife, and this is Reuben's grandfather. So she is actually the son's daughter-in-law through marriage. Mishnah have lakalos b'nai. Okay, touch my coming here. Avi imai. It says the grandfather, the mother's side, my love, mishum chayletz again. The mother's father. What is the problem here? So what is she? She's a the daughter's daughter-in-law, or son's daughter-in-law. My love, mishum chayletz. To have lekalas bita, she is the daughter-in-law of a daughter, which is only a shnia, and yet it's forbidden. So once again, loy mishum misne. Have lekalas bita. We're talking about again. That these brothers will share the same mother and share the same father. And the problem was not Shimon, the one who gave the chalitza. The problem was Reuben, the one who was married in the first place. So this is because this is a daughter's or a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law, or daughter's daughter-in-law, it's a son's daughter-in-law. Therefore, it is even though it's a shnia, but because of marriage, and that's the problem. Because remember here, it says, Ben Benai, a grandson, my love, Mishum Chayle, talking about a grandson. What's the problem? A grandson, again, she is Shimon's chalutza, so therefore it's your grandfather's chalutza, which is again only shnia. The wife of your grandfather is only a shnia. and chalutza, yet we're saying it's forbidden. The grandfather's wife. Saying, well, no, again, no. The problem was not it's a grandfather's wife. The problem was it's a grandfather's brother Reuben's wife, and that's a great uncle's wife, which is a mamish, even though it's mamish a marriage. And it's a shnia, but by marriage, shnia is forbidden. This is a great uncle's wife. So the Gemara, but we learned before that Mema said a great uncle's wife is not taka also. So you're right. When it's a Mema taka learns that it's not Reuben's wife that's a problem because that's permitted. It's Shimon's wife and it's the chalutza and it's a shnia. A Mema taka holds that there is shnia, that the chalutza also we ban shnias. Ukasava goes to shnias but chalutza. First, my coming here, it says with ben bitai. It says with ben bitai that the grandson through the daughter, the daughter, she's forbidden. It's again grandfather's wife, and which is a shnia, and it's only chalutza. The grandfather's wife on the mother's side, and it's forbidden. And yet we say what chalutza? We say shnia is forbidden. Chalutza. Again, in this case, it's the mother's father's brother's wife. It's the great uncle's wife, and mamish marriage. So the shnia is also. What are you talking about? We know that the mother's father's brother's wife is not forbidden even as a shnia. So why is she also as a chalutza? And a lot of must be clearly because she, forget about Reuben, she is Shimon's wife, and by chalutza we aser shnias as well. We definitely aser shnias by chalutza as well. And in the first part of the mission, it seems that the chalutza, there is no shnias, doesn't mention the grandfather's, the next generation up. We said it's a kasha, it's a bit difficult, but that's not going to change our opinion. Says about it further, by the two dots. Mutar Adam, a person is permitted in the. So you have, let's say, the chalutza. Two women were married to Reuben, and you gave chalutza to one of them to Leah, the other woman Sarah. Now the Sarah is free, and her relative is permitted to you. Her relative is permitted to you. The relative of the Sarah. Amar Abdullah Kishna Mashmul Habo. He says here, he says in Shmuel, Habo al Sarah's chalutza. If you have relations, Reuben was married to two women, to Leah and Sarah. If you have relations with, so you gave chalitza to Leah, and then you go ahead and you have relations with Sarah, the co-wife. You have Vlad Mamzer. In other words, when you gave a chalitza to a woman, she's no longer considered a Eishazach anymore, and if you have, and she's forbidden to you, but if you have relations with her, it's only allowed. You're not allowed to. But when it comes to the tzara, once you remove that, the tzara, you never gave chalitza to the tzara, and this woman is not representing the tzara. So as far as the tzara is concerned, it's still your brother's wife. And if you have any relation with her, it's Isa Karis and the child's a mamzer. My time, the why the Yisur, the time the Isa still remains. On the basis of Yosef, we actually learned. It says in our Mishnah, Mutter Adam, you're permitted bekrevas tzaras chalutzase. So the co-wife of Reuben, who did not receive a chalitza, so we're going to treat her as if she is an Eish's ach, and therefore her relative, let's say her sister, is permitted to you. Now, as Gemara explains, if you can tell me the tzara is not involved at all in the whole thing, she never had a chalitza, so therefore she's forbidden to you as your brother's wife. So her sister permitted. I'm not married sister. You can tell me no, but tzara the same status as the chalutza. The chalutza took the chalutza on behalf of herself, and on behalf we had before big machlekes in mother, and took it on behalf of herself, and took it upon the behalf of the tzara. So the tzara is no different than the chalutza. Just like you're not allowed to marry any of the relatives of the chalutza, nor should you be able to marry any of the relatives of the tzara. My wasn't permitted lame, let us say, to have a tiyufta b'yechin zakasha b'yechin amar. He says, bein hu bein achin, whether he or whether brothers. Ein chayavin is no longer nisa karas loya chalutza because you've changed it from Easter of Eish's ach, which is karas, to the Easter just of a lav. You know, I'm marrying chalutza, and nor on the chalutza. The chalutza also has been changed. Why? Because she was represented by the chalutza. It covers them both. Kadas, v'lev such a kadas. Rabbi Yechon answers back, you want to know why the relatives of the tzara are permitted? Not because the chalitza had no effect on her, but because with you think that whole sister of a chalitza is matayt. The whole thing is only a rabban anyway. So therefore, we decided that the chalutza, all the relatives forbidden. The tzara, even though it's as if she also received the chalitza, but nevertheless all her relatives are permitted. Now, what's the logic in that? Why should there be a difference? If the tzara is considered a chalutza, why should her relatives be permitted? What's the difference? So we answer as follows. Who usually, if you can always count on family. So therefore, let's say her sister, if the person, the chalutza, will take her sister with her to the court for support, moral support, and therefore the average person has no idea which of these two women received the chalitza, and who's the sister-in-law. And some people think that it's Leah, some people think it's Rachel, the other woman. And so therefore, if we later on see the sister getting married to one of the brothers, saying, the sister of a chalutza is allowed to get married, he's allowed to marry the sister of the chalutza. That's what we think. And they don't know what's going on. So therefore, goes no, that when it comes to the chalutza, her immediate family are forbidden. You're not allowed to marry them, because otherwise people might think you're allowed to, that they might think that it's the tzara herself. They don't even know the difference. What do you call it? But let's say someone does not go to Bezin with her, her co-wife does not go to Bezin with her. So therefore, if you decide to marry the sister of the co-wife, there's no problem. When it comes to the sister of the co-wife, there's no problem, because nobody thinks that the co-wife was actual chalutza, because she doesn't go to Bezin. But when it comes to when it comes to the sister, when it comes to the sister of the wife, there's again the chalitza. They might think that the sister is the one who actually got the chalitza, and they're not even sure which one it is that got the chalitza. And if you're going to marry the tzara of the relative of the chalutza, talking about the relative of the chalutza, the sister of the chalutza, let's say, who came to Bezin with her, people might think that she herself is the chalutza. And if you're going to marry the tzara, then people are going to think, whenever there's a chalutza, you're allowed to marry the co-wife. That's what they would think. So mistakes can arise from that. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue Mitzvah Shem after Yom Tov.